Good evening. I am your host, Megan Brignadello with OSF Innovation, and I'm joined by Andrew Newey with the GPEDC. Thank you for joining tonight's special Thanksgiving edition of Distillery Labs Whiskey Talks. Tonight, we are featuring the founder of Turkey Trac, Jason Yorty. He is the fifth generation turkey farmer, and he has developed a technology solution that helps turkey farmers raise healthier, safer, and better products for the market. Welcome, Jason.
Good to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I think what we'll do is I prepared a short PowerPoint. I'll walk you through a little bit about who I am, what we do, and where we're going. So I will share that.
Excellent.
Okay. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes, we can.
Good deal. All right. So as Meg has mentioned, my name is Jason Yorty. I'm a graduate of Illinois State University, where I majored in ag business management, ag engineering with concentration in engineering, a minor in economics. And as she mentioned, I'm a fifth generation turkey farmer and crop farmer. Currently, I'm the president of the Illinois State Turkey Growers Association, a board member of the National Turkey Federation, and committee chair for Young Life Central Illinois. You know, when I graduated college, my whole thought was growing up that after college, I would come back to the farm and raise turkeys, corn and soybeans with my family. And the day I graduated, I'll never forget it. I said, all right, Dad, let's take over the world. You and I, the family, we're going to make this farm amazing. And he said, nope, go get a real job. So I did that. I went to Caterpillar, started off as a heavy equipment operator, and then moved my way up to engineer status, worked on remote control bulldozer, a safety system for large mining trucks. And then one of the final projects, I was a validation engineer for the autonomous mining truck program. Did that for quite a few years. And then got the phone call from Dad. And he said, hey, one of our lead employees is having a career change. What do you think about coming back? And I was ecstatic. During that time at Caterpillar, I was still helping out on the farm and still helping out in the turkeys, and really noticed an opportunity to do some technology in the turkey world, which we'll get into here shortly. So left Caterpillar, started working on the farm, and then started a family. So I got to give a shout out to my family super quick. This is our family. My youngest son, Maverick, our oldest daughter, Ella, my wife, Trisha Yorty, who, side note, if you're selling a house, she's the best realtor in the United States of America. Look her up. And then me, and then we don't have a pet turkey. He was just in the picture for some reason. So started a family, came to the farm, started Turkey Trac. Want to tell you a little bit about our farm. So we're in central Illinois. We raise corn and soybeans, as I mentioned. We also raise turkeys for West Liberty Foods. So there's this common misconception when you go and you buy a Yorty turkey. So many times we hear, oh, we had one of your turkeys for Thanksgiving. So common misconception, that is our cousins, the Yorty turkey farm. They're just up the road from us 2 miles. We still do a lot of work together. If they need help with feed additives, we can share some of that. Matter of fact, I talk to Travis probably 3 times a week. Super close in family, but we do not raise the seasonal Thanksgiving turkey. There is a minimum of 6,000 turkeys on our farm any given day of the year. So our turkeys get processed at West Liberty Foods, and where they typically end up is Subway lunch meat. So if you go to your local Subway and have a turkey sandwich, there's a chance that you're eating a turkey that came from our farm. One really cool thing about our family farm is that it is truly family based. And what I mean by that is all siblings still have a part or a role in the farm. I got an older brother who has got an excavation company. Him and his wife help out on the farm. My sister, Sarah Callie, and her husband, Travis. She is basically the secretary, does everything, bookwork, all that stuff. Travis helps out driving equipment, loading, and then my family as well. So still kind of a family-based traditional farm, which is super awesome. Let's talk real quick about the turkey industry to give you kind of an idea of what we're dealing with. So turkey industry, similar to our situation, there's a lot of growers that are still family farm based. And to the consumer, there's a lot of misconception and confusion on the market. So what are the types of production that we raise in the turkey industry? And here's just a few: ABF, antibiotic free; GAP is a type of animal humane standard; conventional is just conventional. It's raising turkeys with not a lot of restrictions. And then you got some other different naming. And just to be clear on this, what we do today on our farm is raise conventional turkeys, which means we can give antibiotics. Now, I will tell you this: if you eat our turkey, we haven't given antibiotics in 2 years. So technically, we can raise under the ABF label, but as of right now, we don't. That will be switching come the end of January, beginning February. When we place the next flock, we'll raise under the ABF certification. So all turkey is good turkey. And what I mean by that, there's 230 million turkeys raised in the US. And to put that in kind of perspective, compared to the chicken industry, it's only 3% the size of the chicken industry. So I've had the blessing of being able to travel around to various turkey farms, and truly, and I mean this, and I'm saying this from what I've seen, turkey farmers truly care about what they do. You know, the common word, the factory farm, stuff like that. If you knew the turkey farmers that I knew and the things that I've seen, I mean, we truly care about these animals. This is our livelihood, and if we don't treat the animal right, we will not obviously survive in this industry. So I got to give a plug. The turkey industry, obviously Thanksgiving is a super exciting time for us, but if you're not aware of it, next week is the presidential pardoning. Not a lot of people know about it. Some people do, but I believe it started in 1947. The president pardons 2 turkeys, and these two turkeys will not ever get butchered. What they will do is live their life out. And this year, one of our customers, actually, the Cardell family, Ron and Susie, salt of the earth people, fantastic people, fantastic turkey growers. They have the honor of raising the presidential turkeys. So these guys will be going to the White House next week. And yeah, so pay attention to that. If you want more details on that, log on to the National Turkey Federation website at www.eatturkey.org. Okay, let's talk about the challenges of the turkey industry. And so super quick, how this works is you have genetic companies. And genetic companies are the ones that, from a pedigree standpoint, they're the ones creating these turkeys. And a super cool fact about the turkey industry, there is not any genetically modified organisms, no GMOs. Everything's natural. So what the genetic company does is they select the best of the best turkeys and they mate them together to get a new product. And what's really cool is the change that happens in the industry. It's cool and it's scary, because if you're a farmer who says, I am doing this practice because this is the way we've always done it, that would be a reactive grower. That is somebody who is somewhat set in their ways. And why this is important is this graph, super quick, if you look at it, this is a 3-year span of how many pounds a turkey will gain in a week. And this is adult tom turkeys. So these are male turkeys. And if you look right around 10 weeks, the 3-year difference is those birds will gain about 1/4 pound to 1/2 pound more per week. So really what that means is roughly about 1.5 pounds heavier bird than what we've seen 3 years prior. So that's a big deal. Our genetic companies are changing these birds through natural selection. And as growers, we need to be aware of these changes and where these changes are occurring in production. That's a challenge. Here's another challenge a lot of our growers, a ton of growers around the US and the world actually experience. So my father is who I would call a turkey whisperer and really understands turkeys. I am getting there, but my father has years and years experience at this. So how chores look typically in a day is we walk into the barn twice a day and we check the turkeys. And we're relying on our 5 senses to tell us if our turkeys are healthy. When we walk in, what do we see? How are the birds acting? What do we smell? What's the environment like? Is there any odors in the air that we need to be concerned of? Ammonia, stuff like that. What do I hear? Turkeys throughout various stages of their lives make different noises. And to the trained ear, those noises mean something. If they're under distress, if they're feeling good. What do I feel? How does the temperature feel against my skin? How does the feed feel? Is the water warm or cold? And what do I taste? And don't get too concerned with this. but we will randomly taste the water. The reason why we do that is water quality is insanely important, and we want to make sure that it has a good taste that the turkeys would like. So the question becomes, how do you teach this to employees? How do you quantify your senses to employees or other people when you're training them to be in the turkey barns? That's a large challenge in our industry. As turkey growers, we contract different services to help us in our production. So that would be like a feed mill, and the feed mill produces feed and delivers it to the farm. Nutritionists look over our feed plan and they advise us and tell the feed mill, hey, you need to change these ingredients. Fun little fact, tom turkeys lifespan is around 20 weeks, 18 to 20 weeks. And during that time, we will change their diet 8 different times based off what they need for that growing experience. Obviously, vets, we all know what they do. But as growers, we pay for these services. And these services rely on the information that we give them. So lack of data to them is kind of some maybe poor advice on the service side. So what typical turkey growers do today is they have a clipboard in their barn, and we write down 3 points of data. And it is, what is the water meter reading? How long did the feed auger run for? And did any turkeys die? And this is 3 points every day for 140 days is 420 points that a lot of turkey growers are making a lot of decisions based off of. And to me, that is a challenge in the turkey industry. We need to understand more about our turkeys from a health standpoint. And finally, the last challenge that I see that TurkeyTrac helps with is simply, we talked about the clipboard, old technology. There has not been large innovation strides in our industry. And a lot of different industries throughout what we know have changed drastically through technology. One example of that is, think about navigation in the automotive industry. I can remember my parents point out a road atlas. And surprisingly, when I got this picture off the internet, you'll notice the date is 2020. They are still making road atlases. I had no idea. But anyway, when I was a kid, those things were kind of common. How are we going to navigate to Florida? How do we get there? And then today, we use our cell phones pretty commonly. And then what's coming in the future, and we've seen glimpses of it already, is autonomous cars. So you look at the path that the automotive industry has made, and the turkey industry, I would say, is at the road atlas point, ready to expand further on. So I want to show you a super quick video about TurkeyTrac and my family. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing real quick and make sure that I have the video set. Okay, here we go.
This is our family farm. It's something I'm proud to be part of, and I can't wait to take it over someday. And this guy here, well, some people call him the Turkey Whisperer, but I call him Dad. I've often wondered how I ever possessed the amount of turkey knowledge that this man has. Quite frankly, he set the bar pretty darn high. I've got some big shoes to fill, but I have a plan. And that plan is to use TurkeyTrac. TurkeyTrac to validate my senses through data when I walk through our barns. I'm going to use TurkeyTrac to turn every single flock into a test flock and be able to better understand cause and effect. I'm going to better understand what's working in the industry and what's not through TurkeyTrac's flock compare tool. I'm going to use TurkeyTrac to teach our employees more about turkey health, easy to understand graphs. I'm even going to use TurkeyTrac to cheat a little bit and set a few health alerts, so someday I may catch a potential issue before my father can. Yeah, I think it's a pretty darn good plan, except there is one downside to this plan. You see, my father's father set the bar high for him, and, well, his father's father's father did the same. I hope I don't set that bar too high for the next generation.
guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Perfect. And you guys can still see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So that is Turkey Trac. That is our solution to the industry problems that we've mentioned. And there's a few other industry problems that we think we can solve as well. You know, I found a quote on Facebook one time scrolling through, and I mean, this is truly what Turkey Trac is. And I'll explain this, but a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action becomes reality. So with Turkey Trac, what we do is we set goals every single day of how much our birds should weigh, how much they should eat, how much they should drink, what should the environment be like. And if our goal is to raise a 44-pound turkey, and if we achieve these steps every single day, then our goal actually becomes a reality. And what we're now doing is taking that mind shift, that reactive approach, and we're changing it to a proactive approach through data. That's our goal, that's our mission, and that's what we're doing today. So from a technical standpoint, how are we doing that? So we have a bunch of sensors in a barn, and all this information goes up to our cloud, where it does a lot of detailed analytics, and it passes down some easy to understand graphs and charts for that grower to understand, or employee who's in the barn. But from there, we also share with those vendors we mentioned before. Maybe the grower wants to get up in the middle of the night and check on his turkey flock. Or the vet, I get this all the time. People call a vet and say, hey, I think my turkeys are sick. And the vet says, well, what does that mean? And so now we rely on data rather than the grower's 5 senses and trying to tell that vet what that means. We shoot a projection 2 weeks prior to market, and we're typically 2% accurate. And what I mean by that is the plant wants to know how much turkey is coming in, because they're selling turkey based off of what is forecasted to come in. So we streamline that, and we've made that now known quantities, or really good guesses at that. From a feed mill standpoint, right, having visibility into those tanks so we never ever run that flock out of feed. And then finally, genetics. As we mentioned, the pedigrees and the geneticists, Owen, Nico, and Paige, the people that are truly in charge of the genetics in the world here, giving them real-time information of what's happening with the genetics that they've worked on. So that's kind of from a technical standpoint what we're doing. And here's that graph I talked about inside the barn. I'm going to spend a quick second on this. When a grower walks in, this is what they see. It gives them a quick understanding of, am I meeting my goals or am I not? And you can see from the big main graph there, that black line is, this is real data out of our farm. That's our goals. And you can see that we've exceeded those goals. And what we've done to make this really, really easy for growers is we wanted to make it like something they know. And we've all been to school. We've all had A's, B's, C's, and D's, right? So we had this thing called flock score. And flock score is basically, what's the health of my flock? So we do deep, detailed analytics to project and to really quantify what the health is. So if a grower walks in and says, hey, my flock's at 99% today, and comes in a day later and sees that he's at 95, he can see that his health is slipping. That grower can then select that box, and Turkey Trac will show them exactly where that flock is slipping, so the grower can take action. We've seen growers catch things they could not see with their eye 3 days quicker, which is absolutely huge in raising turkeys. Data sharing, talking about that and giving that information to feed mills, vets, anybody who you're paying that service for. With the ability for the feed mill to see inside of our feed tanks now, and Turkey Trac projecting when that bin's going to be empty. We did a study with one feed mill, and what they found was an average of a 29% reduction in feed deliveries each flock. What that equated to was around $8,000 savings for that mill a year. It's really, really important to give good, accurate information to the people you're paying for services, because they can do their job better, and ultimately everybody benefits. And finally, one of the most powerful tools we've created is called Flock Compare. And what I would say Flock Compare is a great analogy that my wife loves to use, is like taking your first, or not your first, yeah, first would be good, or a newborn baby to the pediatrician. And they weigh them and they take measurements on them. And they say, hey, your baby's weight is in the 90th percentile. Your baby's height is maybe in the 87th percentile. So this is what we do for turkey flocks. Out of all the flocks that are raised in Turkey Trac, we can benchmark and we can put different scenarios in this software and we can say, show me how my turkeys rank against a turkey, a hybrid turkey that was raised in this given situation with this type of equipment, with this type of litter. And then flock comparable simply show them how they rank. But not only that, we'll show them ways to improve their performance. It's an incredibly powerful tool that growers are making a lot of decisions off of. So what's next for Turkey Trac? What's the exciting stuff that we're going to be working on? Chickens, actually. We've launched a beta test over a year ago that we're coming up to completing, and we're ready to go. Our hope is at the Q1, we're launching into chickens. We've got the ball rolling on that, and we're excited about that. We've got a new feature we're going to be rolling out soon, advanced biosecurity tracking. And what is that exactly? So the best way I can explain it is think about COVID, because that's fairly relevant in our world today. If you get tested and you're positive and you walk into a Kroger's, for example, and you get really close to a lot of people without a mask on, chances are you're going to spread the virus. So what we want to do in Turkey Trac is we want to track people going in between different flocks. And if one flock is sick, can we track where that sickness came from through advanced biosecurity tracking measures? And finally, a pretty broad statement, but pretty excited about this, collaboration with other like-minded companies. As we looked at that automotive slide where we talked about the Atlas map to the GPS, to the autonomous cars, that's where we want to take the industry. You will never, ever be able to take the human out of animal production. In my opinion, you just can't have that. It's something called animal husbandry. The human has to be with those animals. But I think there's so many different ways through robotics, through data, through sensors, that we can really, really sharpen the insights of these growers to really make us more efficient and raise a healthier and better product. So that is Turkey Trac in a nutshell. And I'm sorry if I went a bit long on there, but I would open it up to any questions that you guys might have.
So Jason, thank you for that wonderful presentation. If you can just quickly turn on your video so that we can get into
There we go.
our exciting discussion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, thank you for sharing the details on farming and growing turkeys. And so I want to talk a little bit about the value chain, right? Like you talked about all the people involved in that. And, and of course, from Meg, from your perspective too, if you can also share, like, I'm sure for families that are watching this, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going into turkey farming. So Meg, can you share from your perspective from families, and then Jason get into the sort of value chain there?
Yeah.
I think looking at the farming or the family perspective, I think one thing at the very beginning, you talked about how, you grew up on the turkey farm, and then looking at, you asked your dad for a job with him and he turned you down. And I bet that was kind of like, wait, what do you mean? Can you tell me a little bit about maybe how that shaped your endeavors with Turkey Trac?
Yeah, great question. It's funny, Megan, because in my younger years, I was always right. My father was always wrong in my mind. But come to find out, 99.9% of the time, our parents actually know what they're talking about. And so for me, it was a little bit of disheartening time because it was like, well, farming's in my blood. That's the only thing I know. That's the only thing I want to do. And for my father to say, no, you need to go experience corporate America and make sure that you get a broad understanding of what's out there before you come back. Man, I'm so thankful for that, because what that did for me is it developed me as a person, understanding corporate America. And especially in the role that I have today with Turkey Trac, we deal with a lot of corporations. To understand what that looks like has been a huge help. The other side that came from that is a lot of things that I learned at Caterpillar. Caterpillar is a fantastic company with a lot of great people in there. And actually, a lot of those relationships I still have today. I've learned a lot of the stuff that I've learned today from those people. Some of those people are actually contracted to help us out on the side as well. So with relationships and with learning different unique ways of thinking about things, it was an incredibly valuable time that I think set us up for Turkey Trac quite well. So I don't know if my father had a crystal ball or what, but I am, at the time, I was not so happy, but looking back, it was the best thing he's done for me.
And family is pretty important to you, correct?
That's huge. It's absolutely huge. And the cool thing is too, is I know it's a challenge with a family to all get along and try to run a business together when we talk about the family farm. And I would say from our family perspective, we're insanely blessed to where, yeah, we still have our temper tantrums where I might get mad at my brother, my sister, they'll get mad at me, but 99.9% of the time, we know our lanes, we know what we're supposed to be doing, and we work well together. Prior to COVID, we had a thing where typically every week or every other week, Sunday family dinners, just getting together because we like each other. We work with each other, and it's in an operation like that where family is the center of it. It is so important to make sure you keep that at the front line.
Absolutely. Do you feel like your family dynamic has shaped as well, just the turkey farm, the turkey business? Does that lead a lot as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if I think I understand your question, maybe I don't. Could you explain it a
Just
little
more
bit
or
further?
less, like, do you feel like that family dynamic of making sure that family unit has that led more of like that turkey farm and just the legacy, I guess, more so, and the importance of the farming aspect and just the turkey. What I'm trying to say is just building out that industry and continuing
Yeah.
that within the generations.
Yeah, and it's cool. A few years ago, Carl Wittenberg, I believe, was the NTF chair. And every year they have a slogan, and his slogan was, and I think it was Carl, I hope that's right. Turkey is family. And what's cool is you saw our industry is not a huge industry, but that family mentality is so strong in our growers and in our industry. And what I mean by that is we typically go in December to the Iowa Turkey Federation winter meeting. And I mean, it is a time where you have full families, kids and everything getting together, and it's like a big family reunion. It's so great. And you see that too on the integration level, Cargill, Tyson, Butterball, competition in the industry. But yet when we get together for the National Turkey Federation meetings, everybody's there for the common good of turkey. How do we forward this industry? How do we make it the best that it can be? So it is truly, that family mentality is so strong in our family farm. But one thing I'm super proud about is the turkey industry as well and how they emphasize family.
Love it.
So that's a really good point, Jason. And you talked about the data being really such a big issue. And you also said that the human will always be in the loop, right? So how do you see, I guess if we could say, where turkey farming was before Turkey Trac, and now that there's Turkey Trac, how has things changed? Perhaps you can do a compare and contrast on that.
Yeah. So for a lot of our growers, we talk to them on a regular basis. Hey, what are you learning? And it's been great. So what we've seen is a lot of visibility between vendors, as we've mentioned before, which has been a really, really powerful thing. And the reason why is when you think about that, on a typical farm without Turkey Trac, you would have an employee or a farm owner walk those turkeys. And it's typically 2 to 3 times a day. So what happens in the middle of the night? And a great example, or you think about fall, where we have maybe cool temps in the morning, and in the middle of the day, it might be a lot warmer. And in the evening, it cools down quite a bit. Well, not to get too detailed on you, but CO2 is the gas that they use to euthanize turkeys. And that is a gas that is present in our turkey barns. So through ventilation strategies, we might walk through those barns with a handheld sensor that says, hey, everything's okay. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, when the temperature outside is really cold and the ventilation is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, like it should in the middle of the day, what's your CO2 levels doing? So it's the little things like that, understanding that when you're not in the barn of what's going on so you can react and make good decisions. That's been huge. When you look at it from an integration standpoint, where you have maybe a farm manager and employees under them, you have multiple sets of eyes now watching a single flock. So as we mentioned before, maybe you have a farm manager or employee walk those birds twice a day and that's it. Now you could have maybe 5, 6 set of eyes logging in and looking at that data at any point in time. You know, a quick little fun story. We had a customer that had an employee walking the turkeys, and it was 6 o'clock, or I called him, and he raised one of the best flocks they've ever raised. Actually, in the company, it was one of a record setter. And I was so excited for him. So I called him up. I'm like, Tom, tell me what you did. What did you do? I'm dying to know. And I mean, they took their performance from one end to the other in one flock, and we were really excited about it. And he goes, Jason, I'll tell you what it was. Sunday morning at 6 a.m., my flock supervisor called me and said, what the heck is going on in your barn? Get out there and fix your whatever the problem was at the time. And I said, oh, that's a little bit surprising. I'm like, so how did that make such a good flock? And he goes, because whenever I leave that farm at night, I know that somebody's watching, and I don't want to get a phone call on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. to go out there and fix it. So it's that transparency, and it's that, hey, you know, somebody else is watching and you better get it right. And you've seen the results, or you've heard the results of what's happened because of that.
Yeah. And so, you know, anecdotal data, or, you know, some sort of walking through the farm, right, and the enclosure, we have 5 sensors, whereas now technology is the capabilities of enhancing our sensing capability, which is really the age and time that we're living in the Internet of Things. And, you know, to your point with the carbon dioxide levels, you know, we're sleeping, but it's still being monitored, right? And then there's the opportunity for automation in regards to that when, you know, as CO2 reaches a certain level, the fans automatically turn on, or like if you understand things like particular parts of the farm or the growing area where CO2 levels are higher, that particular fan goes on, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're sleeping, but it's still being tracked.
Yep. And that's a great point, Andrew. And that's why we say now every flock is a test flock. You will never, ever be able to replicate the exact same variables. That's common in farming. You just can't replicate what happened last flock or last crop. So if you take that mindset that every flock is a test flock, it creates an opportunity to learn something new. And the growers that are getting ahead with Turkey Trac are looking at that data and trying to learn. They want to understand. And we've seen great success with that. Our legacy Tom growers, meaning you've been a Turkey Trac customer for more than 4 years, we did a quick study on them. And from a livability standpoint, they saw an average of a 2% increase in livability. So, you know, you talk about how many dollars that is, that alone will pay for a Turkey Trac system.
Wow. And so, Meg, you know, I mean, you're a mom, right? You want to, you know, provide the best protein source, and turkey is a great protein source, right? Did you know about this from before? Like,
oh yeah, I knew this was happening. I'm not gonna lie, can I implement this maybe into my own home with my kids? I feel like this could be like used for so many moms around the world. But I actually I've had a turkey from the Yorty farm, and I will tell you, it's very good. So importance, there's something about knowing where your meat is coming from. I know with our own home, my husband's a chef, and so really diving into the meat industry or the food industry and knowing where your food is coming from has been really important. And I feel like just this past year with COVID, it's hit home even more. And so we've been really trying to look at where our meat's coming from. And you hit it, Andrew, for sure. As a parent, you want the best for your child. So that's an important thing to think about as well.
So let's continue on with the story, right? Like we talked about analytics, and we talk about data sharing, Jason. So how does that work? If somebody, you know, who has a turkey farm, how does this data sharing aggregate cloud work? Can you share more about that?
Andrew, that's a really good point, because a very, very sticky talking point is data and sharing data and who gets to see my data. And for us, that's at the forefront of when we designed the system, we had that at the front of our minds. So the way it works is a farmer like myself or our family establishes relationships within Turkey Trac. So I have a relationship with CSA, who is a nutrition company, and they formulate our feed. So in Turkey Trac, me as an admin, I set up that relationship. There's many other nutrition companies, but I work directly with CSA right now. And that's same with, say, our vet tech, Dr. Belke, or I don't know, our processing plant, West Liberty Foods. Those relationships are pre-set up in the system. So when I go and I tell Turkey Trac that, hello, I'm starting a new flock, it asks the grower, okay, who would you like to share your data with? Tell me about your nutritionist. And so that person can select only from the relationships that have been established. So that grower then gives consent for Turkey Trac to share that specific flock data with that vendor, which is a really important thing because we don't want to accidentally send information to somebody that shouldn't see that information. Now, the flip side of that is the flock compare tool, which is a really powerful tool that we talked about, that pediatrician analogy. And in that, we're sharing aggregated data and we're sharing it to anybody who's a Turkey Trac member. So we needed to be very, very careful that we could not single out any growers. So in that flock compare, there are certain variables that are not available if we do not have enough flocks where we could single out a one single grower. We look at that more as a data cooperative, right? Where, hey, if you're a grower and you're adding information into our database, you then can access all that data anonymously to help you become a better grower. And when we talk about, there's two main genetic lines in the US, Avogen and hybrid. And between those two birds react different in different situations. So with this flock compare tool and this anonymous data, we've been able to help growers understand which genetic is a better fit for their situation. So data and privacy of data is insanely important. It's at the forefront of our mind. It's a hard thing to work around, but I think we got it right.
That is really cool. And so I guess what is the business model behind all that? So does it mean like if somebody signs on for Turkey Trac, do they automatically get that? Well, can you share more about how that would work?
Absolutely. So our model today is that growers buy the system. They have to pay for the hardware. And then from there, they have to buy a subscription. And that subscription gets them exactly what you're talking about, Andrew. The analytics, the ability to log on to Flock Compare, the ability to share that information with their key vendors. What we also do with that subscription is we're providing 24/7 support on that. And then we also, as a company, took the approach that from a software upgrade standpoint, we don't want it to be like the early days of Microsoft, where you have, hey, you've got Microsoft 97, you need to update to 2000, pay us $200 or whatever the price is. With that subscription, we have set up rolling updates. So whenever we come out with a cool new feature, our customers get an email and say, hey, check out this new feature that is on your system today. We feel that that's more fair approach. You're an investor in Turkey Trac, you're partnering with us. So anything we can do to help you helps us. So that's kind of the model on that standpoint. Today, we do not have a subscription for vendors. We're moving that direction. We're going to roll that out in 2021 to where we've had, from a vendor standpoint, let's talk about genetics, for example. We talked about how the geneticists are making decisions and they say, I think these turkeys are going to be 1.5 pounds heavier at the end of 3 years or whatever that number is. Now to take real quantified results, not just at the end when they go to the plant and what did they weigh, but every single hour throughout their life. That value of that information is incredibly high, because what that then can do is help that geneticist make some decisions based off what's happening in the field today to really shape the industry as to what they need. So if they think, hey, these turkeys, this is what we think they should be doing, but they're actually doing this, what do I need to do at the pedigree level to change that? Because those changes, depending on who you talk to, take 3 to 5 years before we see it as growers. So when they start breeding different turkeys to multiply those birds out, it's 3 to 5 years before we see them on our farm.
Interesting. And we have a question on chat from Marcy. So how many farms are utilizing TurkeyTrac right now?
Yeah, so right now we're a touch over 50. So we are
Okay.
on a version 1 system. We rolled out version 2 here recently. I started this project at the beginning of 2020, which was great timing. So now we're getting through COVID and we're getting through kind of the valleys of what COVID has done to the turkey industry, and things are picking up fairly quickly, actually.
It's like you knew COVID was going to happen this year, right?
Yeah,
Get
totally.
a tip off.
Yep.
And, just because it's everybody's favorite word to talk about, COVID, how do you feel like that's impacted TurkeyTrac or the industry as a whole?
Yeah. So I'll speak to both. TurkeyTrac standpoint, we decided to go after version 2. From a technical standpoint, we thought we could maybe squeeze some cost out, make it more cost effective for our grower by utilizing some newer technology. So we decided to do that at the end of 2019. So we worked really hard through that, and then COVID hit. And what COVID did to the turkey industry is we saw pullbacks where the processors were saying, hey, you need to reduce your headcount from anywhere from 8 to 20%, depending on who you're growing for. So if you put your turkey grower hat on, what that means is I have fixed costs that I have to cover, and I'm paying people to work on my farm. Now I don't have the same amount of pounds going out of my building. So what that does to your net profit is that shrinks it quite a bit. So it was a struggle there for a while in the turkey industry. And so for us, when we're pushing out a version 2 system, we weren't quite ready for market when COVID was going through, when we were having these issues. But now that we're ready to hit the sales full steam, we've seen turkey numbers coming back up. We have forecasts that 2021 should be a pretty good year, barring all things kind of stay on the tracks here. Yeah, fingers crossed. So we're really, really excited about 2021. The amount of sales that we've had actually in the past week have been more in the past 3 or 4 months. So things are moving quite quickly. I hope we're out of this thing, out of the COVID issues that it caused in the turkey industry, and full steam ahead.
So, just to reiterate for our viewers out there, what have you seen in terms of actual data, percentages in terms of your, profitability since before and after TurkeyTrac? What has been the percentage increase? Because obviously now you have the data for that to demonstrate that, hey, this is a no-brainer solution for turkey farmers.
Yeah, great question. So from a percentage standpoint, I don't know if I can speak to that. What I can speak to is what we value and what we look at our customers is we're measuring the performance increase. And what we tell our growers is, hey, you should raise 2 to 3 flocks without changing anything. Do what you normally do so we can collect a baseline. And then after that, start to make subtle changes. And that's where we see vast improvements in livability, in weight. A big number is conversion. And what I mean by that is our feed cost is 70% roughly the amount of dollars that we're investing in these turkeys. So 70% of the money we're investing in is feed. So I want to make sure that that bird is super healthy, because when he's healthy, it takes less feed to make a pound of turkey. And just roughly figure to market, anywhere from 100 to 110 pounds of feed will be consumed to create about a 40 to 45 pound bird, somewhere in there. So that conversion rate is incredibly important. And that's where growers see a lot of money, is in that, because a healthier bird's going to convert better. So all that being said, we say 2 to 3 flocks baseline, start making subtle changes. Our goal is that within 2 years, you have you have paid for the TurkeyTrac system and then some. So your 2-year cost, you depreciate the system out over 2 to 3 years, it's all paid off. And then now you're just dropping down to your subscription cost, and you should be making a fair amount of profit off the performance increase that you've had.
That's such a great point. So you're talking about the hardware capital expenditure, which is the investment component, and then the subscription, which is the software as a service components.
Yeah.
And that's such a big deal, because the ability to then just get the data so that you can actually see the difference and the savings in terms of your feed and in terms of the health of the flock. And ultimately, like Mac was saying, at the end of the day, really, what you put in your mouth is, what you become, right?
Yeah.
So for your family, that's such a big deal.
And Andrew, one other thing I forgot to mention is we've also worked with industry partners on that. So we're talking more from a individual farmer standpoint. Hey, how do we make you better as a grower? Our industry is faced with various challenges. Bird flu was obviously a big one years ago. But every once in a while, we'll get these bugs that pop up. Like, hey, how do we solve this? What's causing this issue? So we've worked with industry partners on that to say, okay, out of all the data we're collecting, are we seeing common trends here? How do we help the industry as a whole fight issues that we face, that come and go? And so we have committed to help the industry in that, from that standpoint of, can we help decipher any correlations between what we're struggling with from an industry standpoint and performance data? We want to be really, really good at live production. We want to know everything about live production. And why that's important to the consumer is food safety starts at the very beginning of the supply chain. So from the genetic standpoint, and the closer you get to that product being on the consumer's plate, the more risk there is for food safety. So if you look at that, right, if those genetics are happening 3 to 5 years ago, that what we're seeing today, right, we all play a role. So when we get those birds, we have 18 to 20 weeks that we have them. Then they go to get processed and they go to the consumer's plate. Everything we do is incredibly important to provide a healthy and a safe product for the consumer. And TurkeyTrac is helping with that, with goal setting and making sure that we're maximizing that genetic potential, because a healthy bird is a healthy product for you.
Absolutely. And so I'm curious, we have friends and colleagues in innovation and business partners all across the world. What is the opportunity, Jason, for taking this around the world and then some?
Yeah. So we right now we're in North America, so USA and Canada, working on a deal in Mexico right now. And then we've got some European partners that we're trying to work with, where we've had some interest in there. There's always opportunity, right? If it benefits us, if it benefits somebody else, if it benefits the product and ultimately our customers, we're always open for ideas, suggestions. So that door is always open. There's, from our standpoint, we get so bogged down with innovation. We get these ideas. And the problem is, it's you running the company, we have to be really smart about what we're chasing after. Because you can throw 100 ideas up on a board and you'd be like, hey, that'd be really cool. Yeah, but cool doesn't pay the bills. So what's going to help that turkey grower, and what's the priority to get out there? Our list of innovation is massive, and there are so many things that we think together could just truly change this industry and many others. But it's time, it's resources, it's what's the priority? What do we have enough time to get done in this certain window? So there's always opportunities to help out with TurkeyTrac in some way, shape, or form. Our ears are open, our doors are always open. We love talking turkey and technology, and if somebody can help us in that, man, we invite them. Reach out to me if you have an idea or any thoughts or whatever. We're totally open.
Great. And so, just coming back to the turkey and poultry industry, I guess, you're looking to start expanding across the United States, and are you looking at Canada too?
Yeah, we've got a pretty strong, a fairly strong base up in Canada right now. And that my business partner is actually up from Canada. Matt McCready is his name. I actually came from a genetic company. It's kind of a funny story how all that worked out. But Matt kind of leads that initiative up in Canada, oversees all the marketing side of things. And he was just up at a grower site yesterday. So the Canadian market looks to be like a really good market to hit hard. And naturally, with him being up there, it's a good fit for us. USA obviously is a great fit. Being with the National Turkey Federation and the relationships that my father and grandfather have made over the years, I'm blessed to have those relationships as well. Just guilty by association, I guess. But that has also been a really, really great thing for the USA market. And then, as I mentioned, over in Europe, we've got quite a bit of, we get quite a bit of emails and social media stuff from people out in Europe. So working with some people out there, some potential partners to figure out how all this looks. Again, as we talked about collaborating with like-minded companies, there's some pretty cool services that are provided out there where they're considering using Turkey Trac. So it's just getting on that, working on those relationships, building a plan and going after it.
What would you say to those entrepreneurs, since our Distillery Labs is really, our role is to help entrepreneurs. What would you say maybe was a challenge for when you started Turkey Trac, and what would you say to those entrepreneurs inspiring to get their product off the ground?
Yeah, great question. Fantastic.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's good. With Turkey Trac, starting this thing out, it was a one-man band and we grew slowly and it felt like growth was not happening fast enough. There has been many days and many nights sitting in my office wondering and praying, Lord, is this the right route? Is this truly the direction you want me to go? I would say if you have it in your heart and you truly believe that you're being called to do this, do not stop at anything. You can overcome anything you want. It's just how hard do you want it? How hard do you want to work for it? And like I said, there's been challenging times. I'll never forget it. We were about to make a deal with a really big company. And I was going into one of the meetings and to like, hey, and I'll never forget it. I just remember praying, all right, God, you don't want this to happen. I'm done. I'll walk away. But if you want it, then I'm in. And that meeting started out really bad where they said, hey, look, I'm sorry. It was the business director at the time. I'm sorry, this isn't going to work out. We just don't think it's the right path. Well, the CEO of the company came around and was like, who's this guy? Well, this is Jason with Turkey Trac. Turned into an 1.5-hour conversation, which ended up getting a fairly large contract out of that deal. And to me, it was affirmation that, you know what, this is right. And this is where the Lord wants me. So we're going to go after it. So to those entrepreneurs that are sitting in their office, in their basement, beating their head against the wall saying, man, I don't know if this is the right path. My thought to them, hey, if you believe, pray about it, decipher if this is the right direction. And if you feel in the heart that it is, go after it and don't stop at anything. Do whatever you can to break down barriers, because I'll tell you one thing, we're not all the way there yet. And we've got plenty of road ahead of us, Lord willing, of development and growth. But man, looking back, what a fun road, through all the ups and downs, what a wild ride. The relationships we built, don't quit, go after it. Don't stop at anything. And the other thing is talk to people smarter than you. There is a lot of people that are smarter than me, but great people in my life that within the turkey industry, within the ag industry, some mentors that graciously give me their time when I call them, email them. Don't be afraid to leverage some of those resources and just say, hey, I have a question. Because if it wasn't for some of these mentors, we would not be where we're at today.
I love it. I think you just need to have like your own motivational podcast. I feel so inspired now. I'm like, I can do this.
I don't know. I should just stay at the turkey barn.
So I have another, following up on Meg's question, I have another question. If you had to relive the startup journey for Turkey Trac all over again, what would you do differently, if at all?
Yeah. To my earlier advice, hit it hard as I can. And there was some time early on where I was trying to work at CAT, work at the farm, and kind of explore Turkey Trac a little bit. And I look back at that time and like, man, if I just would have focused so much harder on this thing and really drilled down, how much further along would we be today than where we are? So I guess looking back, it's grasping that dream and really devoting time to it. And there's a lot of things that can distract us in this world. I mean, a ton of things that can take our focus away to really where it should be. And just be mindful of that, and understand what are the things that are good for you, what are the things you should be doing, and what are the things that are just what we call time wasters. Identify those and really focus and go after it. That's probably what I would have changed early on.
So if I may respectfully push back a little bit, because, the Silicon Valley style of doing is like, hey, step on the gas and keep going and never stop. What would you say about that in terms of, developing a consistency and a rhythm and schedule, because everybody says the same thing, hit it hard. But, in the long term, that's really not sustainable. Do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so from a sustainability standpoint, I think it goes back to your personal life and what's important to you. I do think there's a fine line to walk, especially if I look at the age that I'm at now and kind of the season of life that I'm in. I have a family, and at the end of the day, Turkey Trac someday could get sold, could keep going, whatever. But I still have a son, a daughter, and a wife. So I would say, to your point, Andrew, I do think you're correct in that. I do think there is a time to go and hit it hard, but there's also time to not give up on the people that are supporting you. Your cheerleaders. I think about my wife and the stuff that she does, with real estate and balancing the family, and yet still helps me with my dream. What would be really unfair is for me to be heads down focused on just me and what I want, and not view her views as well, and give her what she needs in that. So Andrew, to your point, I think you're 100% correct. I think there's a time to go hard and go after it. I think there are ways to identify what the time wasters are. There's only 24 hours in a day and you're sleeping for some of it. So you really need to understand what your priorities are. And so for me, that's obviously God, family, and work. So that's the three that I try to put things in. I don't always do a good job, but allow the right time to go after your dreams, but still leave some there for your other priorities.
So a follow-up question, do you watch TV?
A little bit. My wife will turn it on at about 8 o'clock, and usually by about 8:15, I'm asleep.
Well,
Meg, final thoughts?
I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot big time tonight.
I think I know where you're going.
Can you do a turkey call? I mean,
You're gonna do it.
you don't have to do it, but I just had to close out the night by saying it.
Yeah, I will try.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it on air. I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I'll do it. It's totally fine. So there's an adult turkey call that we'll do every once in a while through the shed. So I might drastically regret this, but it goes a little something like, there it is. There it is. Did it. Done.
That is so great.
I'm going to download it and I'm going to put it as your personal ringtone when I call you.
Please do it. Forever.
So great. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing Turkey Trac. You've done a phenomenal job developing it, and we're so excited for you in the future. And if there's anything we can do to help out, definitely reach out to us. We have Turkey Trac as well, the link on Facebook Live on the comment section. We will add I think you put your email and your number in your deck, so we'll include that later.
Great.
But thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, and to our viewers, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, whether it's in person or virtual via Zoom. But we will be in touch soon with you at our next Whiskey Talks. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.